This is another TikTok compilation, but it isn't on a subject, it's simply the first 9 videos that I made. All sorts of different subjects, and I'm looking quite sort of stilted compared to how I am now. I have become much more relaxed talking into the phone and making a video. It's interesting how I've changed. This first video is the very first one I made. I'd been looking at TikTok, and I pressed the button and found myself looking at my face, and I said, I'm quite old. And I never thought anyone would see it, but it got over 1 million views. And so I carried on making TikToks. People posted comments which asked questions, and I carried on. There's over 1,500 now.
Hello, I'm Brian. I'm about 100 years older than everyone else on TikTok. But I've got a lot I could tell you. What would you like to know? Let me know.
Then I made a couple of videos about how to reply, because it was all very new to me.
Hello, it's about time I made another video. I was overwhelmed by the response to the first one. So many questions, and they are really good questions. I've been answering them by text, but of course that's my generation. I shall make some more videos and tell you all you want to know. Should I answer them like this by tapping the video icon, or should I make new videos? What do you think?
This was very much a learning curve, so the next video tried to explain what I was proposing to do, and it did answer one question about a book, because people had noticed the bookshelves behind me.
Thank you all for your questions. They are absolutely excellent. A lot of people have suggested replying by video. I've just clicked on one of them here, but thank you to all of you. There's 2 sorts of answer. One is to answer a specific question, and they do tend to fall into groups, so I will do that. If I haven't answered yours personally, forgive me. I'm finding it really difficult to get to everybody. And some of them are requests to just talk about myself and my life and my memories, or things I want to talk about. So what I'll do is I'll do both types of video. I'll answer questions sometimes, and I'll tell you things sometimes. I'm finding it hard to get to questions. On the home screen of the phone, one of them said, what's the big red book on the right? So I thought I'd answer that one for a bit of fun. And do you know, I can't find it. But it's an absolute cheat. It's not a book, it's a box full of things.
Well, people were asking me questions about me and what it was like when I was younger, so I made a video talking about myself and who I am.
Hello again. Many people have asked about me, so tonight I thought I'd tell you a bit about myself. I was born in the 1940s, just after the Second World War, so I don't have any personal memories of the war. But my mum and dad lived in London right through it. Dad was called up and served on a warship for part of the war in the Italy campaign. You can see them actually in my profile picture. I'm the baby. I grew up in the 1950s on a big council estate called New Addington, which I enjoyed. It was a nice childhood for many reasons. In the 60s, I went to teacher training college and trained as a teacher. This was the height of the Cold War, so there was a background of fear against the music and fashion of the 60s. I then worked as a teacher in primary schools until the last 12 years of my career, when computers came along, and I helped teachers get to grips with this new technology.
And then I started getting adventurous, and I made one about something that interests me, reading.
Here's something I find interesting. We can all read, but back in the Middle Ages, only the very rich and members of the clergy could read because it was power. When printing was invented, printers were often put in prison, not because they printed copies of books, but because they disseminated ideas. Think about it. Roll on to the Industrial Revolution, and it became clear that factories needed a literate workforce. People stood up in Parliament during the 1800s and said, you must not teach the lower orders to read because they will get ideas above their station. However, in 1870, the first Education Act meant that everyone had to go to school, and we do. We all go to school, we all learn to read, we can all read. It's quite profound because reading is education, and when you bring in things like the internet and TikTok and we're all talking to each other, is it like the printing revolution, and we're disseminating ideas faster than ever before?
That was followed by a video about something else that interests me, Carl Sagan's poem, The Pale Blue Dot.
I'd like to tell you about something that inspired me. I found it interesting. You might not, but I hope you do. Some years ago, at the beginning of space exploration, the Voyager craft looked back and took a photograph of the Earth, and it's so distant that it's literally just a pale blue dot. Well, a guy called Carl Sagan wrote a piece of text just reflecting on the fact that that pale blue dot is where we all live. If you go to YouTube and simply search for pale blue dot, there's lots of them. A lot of people have added pictures and videos to illustrate it, but basically the text that Carl Sagan wrote I found really interesting. If you have a look, let me know what you think.
The next one is a very poor video. My face is white, but I discovered how to do green screen, and I made a video about my first car. Hello, I've discovered how you can add a picture using green screen in TikTok. It's great because it means I can show you my first car. There it is. It was a 1937 Austin Big 7, and it was nearly 30 years old when I bought it. Fine paint job. It's got horns over the windscreen. See that? Buffalo horns. And on the front of the grille there's an AA badge. And in winter, I used to put a piece of cardboard in there so that the engine got warmed up. There was no circulating water pump in those days when they built that. And that's me, with my girlfriend at the time. And in the last one, I decided to read a little bit from my dad's memoirs. My dad lived through the Second World War. He was just 17 when it started. I'll read you what he wrote later in life about the first day of the war. This is my dad speaking now. On Sunday the 3rd of September 1939, the British people were told to stand by their radio sets, and at 11 a.m. we heard the voice of the Prime Minister, Neville Chamberlain, saying dismally, "I have to tell you that the German government has not replied to our message, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany." The Admiralty's response was immediate. From War Registry and the Naval Wireless Station in Whitehall went a most immediate general message to every ship and every naval authority in the farthest flung corners of the world, with just 2 words: total Germany. The proud life of Britain and her empire, and indeed the fruits of centuries, were about to end. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little scamper through the first 9 of my TikTok videos. I'll show you some more in due course. If you haven't already seen it, you might like my climate change compilation of TikTok videos.